If you're a business owner who loves to travel, you're going to love this episode because I'm bringing on an expert in this travel hacking space who helps business owners be able to reach their goals through points and miles. That's Ross Alcorn with Itinerary Boss. And he's going to be breaking down some higher level strategies that these business owners could be using to maximize their points and miles for nearly free travel. So if you haven't listened to this podcast before, my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and this is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, where I am documenting my journey in real estate and business and also bringing on high-level investors and business owners to share their stories about how they built their businesses. You can follow me at chris.rickenbaugh on Instagram and TikTok, where you can follow along on my journey. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much. It only helps us if you share this episode to be able to reach more people, to be able to help them reach their goals, because anybody can do it if I can do it. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and give suggestions on what kind of guests you want to be able to listen to, who you want to learn from, and what your specific niche is, so I can bring on guests to be able to, pertain more to the audience. So with that being said, let's get into Ross's interview. All right, Ross Alcorn, welcome to the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. Pumped to have you on.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here and chat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I get to talk about travel hacking. I've done it a couple times on the podcast, talking about my trip to Hawaii that we saved 6,000 on. And, when I get to talk to other people about it, their eyes kind of glaze over. They get a little bit scared because you're talking about credit and credit cards. And so now I just get to be able to dive all in and break it down and kind of nerd out a little bit with you on this. So I want to get into your story a little bit about kind of where you were, before you started your business. But yeah, give us a little background on who you are and what you do, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so Ross Alcorn, I'm in Charlotte. I know you are too here for listeners who are here locally. I'm the founder of Itinerary Boss, where I help people earn more from their everyday spend, and then, like Chris mentioned, turn that into luxury travel using your points. I got into that because I started traveling when I was really young, but then as when I got into corporate America after college, was a road warrior. So I was in the medical device, health tech, software field, traveled a very good bit every week, 4 or 5 days a week from 2016 to 2020. And at the same time was planning all our group trips to a bunch of different countries. So I was learning the ins and outs of the loyalty airlines, hotel programs. I was living in DC at the time and flying from Dulles down to Charlotte a lot, BWI. So I learned the three different programs. And yeah, through planning those trips, just realized I was one of the smart ones who was getting the credit card points. And then when I stopped traveling, that's when I really dove into how to optimize. And then, I know a lot of people who listen to your show are real estate investors. When I started, bought my first townhome here in Charlotte, really realized, okay, I can get a welcome bonus from this expense. There's bigger expenses that come with that furnishing, appliances. So did it on the personal side. Then we started buying on the business side, started to understand the leverage that you can use with business credit cards. And once you're able to earn points there, how you can combine those with your personal points. And once I got that rolling and learned that, it just, and had it cover a bunch of travel, it really started just, as anyone knows, and once they realize you can game the system, went down the rabbit hole and yeah, started my business in 2023. And it's been, we've had a good time since.
Yeah, and it's such a cool story because we see a lot of hustlers come from that medical device sales to where they're traveling. I got Jarrett Jackson on here; he was the same way. And then I just had Mong on, and he's the same way. He was working in the medical industry, so lots of hustlers come from there. But on the travel side, being able to go at a deeper level, and that's why you focus a lot more on the business spending, because that's where a lot of these investors are having major spending, and they're just not maximizing on the credit and all the the travel and rewards as they could be, because for the typical spender, that don't have a business, there's ways to be able to maximize that. And I wanted to focus today on this show about more on the business side. So if you're listening right now and don't really know what we're talking about, go back and listen to a couple of the episodes where I break it down simply. But today I kind of want to really break down on the business side and how you can really maximize from there. So we'll be talking about some higher numbers. But Ross, when you first started, seeing that there was this need in the market based on something you enjoyed, how did that form Itinerary Boss, and where did that start to really take off?
Yeah, for sure. So, like you mentioned, a lot of hustlers come from the medical device field. And honestly, after four companies, I was just tired of the same things. And with the entrepreneur spirit that I had from, grass cutting when I was 13 and knocking on doors, that gave me that drive to be like, what? I want to start something on my own. I got a taste of it with real estate investing like that, but I had a bunch of friends just saying you should start a travel company. I didn't know what that what that really entailed. So I just started, right? I said, "Hey, I've past 10 years, I've learned everything I know on investing, real estate investing, stock investing, travel through podcast. I'm gonna start a podcast because it'd be fun to interview. I have a good job. I can pay a VA to back and edit it. It's a fun side hustle. Started literally just trying a bunch of different things. Knew I didn't want to be a travel agent. And then I kept seeing, like, we obviously did a lot on the credit card side, but when you focus in on something and you're on Instagram, usually that's what's coming to your feed. So I thought the market was saturated. And then when I sat back and realized this is an easy way to monetize, and everyone asked me, everyone wants to save money, everyone wants to use points, everyone wants to travel. Like, I was 10 to 50% more knowledgeable on the topic than almost anyone, right? And once I started to have more conversations with people, I realized everyone had the same three problems. One of them that you mentioned on the front end is, the scary word of credit. Most people in business or real estate investors get it, but sometimes when you start to think about opening a credit card, oh, is this going to hurt my credit score? If I have a perfect $850 credit score or 850 credit score, right? Will this impact it? Will this impact, if you're going to get a home, a car, like obviously those are things that play into it. But yeah, and also like, is this credit card, like what happens if I open too many? Like there's just so many different things that could go through people's mind. And I think people were taught, debt is bad. And yes, it is. But if you're already doing all the right things financially um, from a foundational standpoint, like it's a great way to be rewarded. So when I started hearing those same questions of what's the best card? I have this card, is it worth the fee? I have all these points, but I'm scared to transfer them. Or, hey, I get all these points and I transfer them to this partner, but I don't know if it's the right one. Or, hey, I just cash them out for Amazon gift cards, statement credits, or other things. Like, and by the way, that's the worst way to do it. You're getting 0.6 to 1 times ROI on that.
100%.
And that's where I see 95% of business owners doing. And they'll say, "Oh, I'm great with points." Then it's like, let's have a conversation. But that's when I started to hear those specific things. That's when I was like, "Oh, this is a really good, lucrative business model." And there were people online who I saw doing something similar. They were more kind of chasing flashy deals and hacks. Mine was more system and operation mindset focused. And same thing on the 3% fee. When being a real estate investor, going to investor meetups, having to pay out of pocket for an HOA, roof repair, having to pay vendors when we were doing, light rehabs on flooring and painting, those specific things, and them saying, "Oh, we don't take check," or people, saying, "I don't want to pay the 3% fee." That is the biggest unlock that a lot of people miss. If you're running, 50, 100, 200, 300 grand a month on, or just if you're a flipper who's doing two, three flips a year and you're running it through ACH or check, you're missing out, and you want to travel, you're missing out on significant dollars because you could be using your credit card and earning points. And also, if you're a business owner, I know everyone loves tax strategies, but that's a tax advantage way. So those are really the things that made me start to realize, oh, this is a really good business opportunity, and have transformed the business over the past 2.5 years. But it was probably about a year ago when I really started to dive into everything that I just mentioned. And I went full time in April of 2025.
Yeah, now I want to highlight kind of what you said, the three biggest questions that you get, because this isn't, the credit card and points and miles game isn't for somebody who's, you know, not I would say not good with money.
Yeah.
You want to be good, you want to treat it like a debit card, make sure you're paying it off. That's how you're going to stay in the green. So, if you're a responsible spender and, responsible with money, this is something you can do. If you're not, work on that and then you can build up to this. And that's where a lot of your questions are going to be. And then you can get to the point, okay, well, how do I maximize it? So, Ross, for these business owners, what are some of the biggest areas they're spending? Because I know as a real estate investor, it's those renovation projects. Like we spent 100 grand on one and we did it all through credit and we got, probably 150, 200,000 points. And then we had the bonuses on top and those were 100,000. So that paid for our trip to Hawaii. But, what are some of the specific cards that these business owners should be using for their projects? Let's just say it's a real estate company, since I know a lot of our listeners are.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a great point. I want to touch on something that you said is, yeah, first thing always is make sure you have the foundation in place. Like if you have a spending problem, if it's, oh, this is just another way to get more money, like that's not what I'm about. Sounds like Chris, you are as well. It's all about transparency. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But for business owners specifically, I don't want to overwhelm people with, hey, here's 5 cards to go check out. I always like to beginning of the year and for people who are interested in learning more, it's always where are your what's your biggest expense, and then kind of working back from there, because if you're a real estate investor, most likely your biggest expense, like you mentioned, is going to be materials and labor. That right there. And sometimes if you're an agency, you might be running a lot of ads or networking. So I think it's thinking through what are those things and then aligning that with the right card. So, if your biggest expense is you're going through materials and labor, like finding a card that's going to earn 2x on that is going to be great. If you're running ads, you're going to want to find one that earns 3, 4x, right? It depends on the monetary thresholds that you're at, but those are some specifics. If you travel a lot, right? If you're going to different networking shows. So like just thinking through where are like the top 2 to 3 expenses and getting a card that fits that situation. And also you have to ask yourself too, you're a busy business owner. So unless you're like, hey, I want to optimize as much as possible, I want to get 5 cards and I want one that earns 5, 4, 3, 2, right? X across the board, that's totally fine. But if you're like, you know what, I want something simple that earns me uncapped 2x, maybe 3x one other place, and I'm good with that, like those are the things that at first you want to sit down and ask yourself. And then that sets you up for earning the most possible points. One other thing I want to call out too is make sure that you get a card that has transferable points. Because I had a client who the banker at a bank told them, hey, get this card. It's great because it earns X amount cash back. It's the one card from Chase that does not transfer points. So you only can use that through the portal and you're capped at your upside. So always think through that. Transferable points is the name of the game, and that's what makes this possible. And those currencies are Chase, Amex, Capital One, Citi, on the business side, built, and which is now exciting for people in real estate. But I know we're talking business, so those are the top ones.
Yeah, and that's awesome because I know the two biggest ones are Chase and Amex. And I was just having a conversation with somebody a little earlier today, and they're like, "Oh, well, I have the platinum and I have the gold, and I'm using it for this." It's like, okay, well, if the majority of your spending, it needs to be on the business gold card because you're getting so much return. So after you kind of break that down with the business owner, hey, I want to maximize this, I want to maximize this. How much are you looking at saying, hey, go open this card to be able to get this, to be able to, get the sign up bonus rather than, hey, this is your everyday spending this is the cards we need. So how much are you directing them to say, hey, if you're responsible, you can go open this one? Or are you saying, hey, let's stick to your core two, three cards here to be able to get you closer to that goal?
Yeah, it honestly, most people want simplicity. Unless, I mean, if you're a real estate investor and you're like, you know what, I have multiple properties, I want to get a new card for each LLC, and I want to do that, like that's great. But most people, right, if you don't want that, it's what are those, main expenses? But you bring up a great point, like Amex Platinum, Amex Gold. Amex Platinum is the biggest mistake I see across the board, whether that's personal and business because everyone wants to show off. Oh, I got the platinum card. I have status. I have all these credits. And then, you're swiping it at the grocery store for 1x points, or you're spending it right when you're eating out for 1x points. Like I laugh when and when I have friends who do it, I go, how much you earning on that? Right. So I think you want to make sure you're aligning those specific things. Cause like you said, 1x and 4x is significant. But for most business owners, if you're spending a lot of volume, you don't really need to go open six, seven, eight cards on the business side to get welcome bonuses because you're going to be, if you're spending 100 grand a month and you're earning 2x points, like you're going to earn 2.4 million points a year plus probably a welcome bonus if you open that card. So you're looking at 2.5 or more million points a year. That's a lot of points. And, that gets you a couple super nice vacations in luxury. I mean, we've taken super nice ones that are 20, 30, grand in cash for 500,000 points. So like, 2.5, you can really ball out, but you know what I mean? I doubt someone's going on six luxury vacations. And if they want to, then they're probably going to optimize and open more cards.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what we've been kind of on hold recently with our points, and we tallied up over 1 million points. And it's like, oh man, we're planning the big vacation. The wife wants to go to Dubai. I want to go to the Maldives, so we're kind of waiting for that. But we can kind of transition here to the fun part, not so much in the weeds, but the transferring and actually getting to use those points for booking the vacations. So when somebody's coming to work with you to be able to figure out, hey, I just want to work with points. Do you normally try and set them up to where, hey, if they have this dream vacation, you should be using this certain bank and this certain points? But how do you start that booking process?
Yeah. So, and by the way, I have if you need Maldives tips, I have a girl who's been 6 times who came on my podcast, so I'll shoot it over to you.
Oh yeah,
She-
I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it.
Yeah, she has all the tips and tricks. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Charlotte, it's always thinking through, okay, your hub is American, right? So always thinking your home airport, what are your goals? Where do you want to go is the first step. Like if you just want to go to the Caribbean and you're cool with that, you are set up for success because we have so many direct flights to go there. If you're wanting to go to places like Dubai or Maldives or Europe that doesn't have direct flights, if you're looking for, availability, it's always about planning well in advance or being flexible and being able to take something that we call a positioning flight. So, looking at the big hubs on the East Coast, if you're going to Europe similar to Dulles, New York, Boston, Toronto, Miami, and then saying, okay, if there's availability from there, that's where we're going to fly out of because they're going to have more award availability than Charlotte, where, supply and demand. If there's only two flights that are direct to one place, like it's going to be hard to get a lot of availability a lot of the times. So that's kind of that first step of where do you want to go? Where are you located? And, or if you're wanting to go to some of these places, being flexible. And that's where having transferable currencies comes into play because you have that flexibility. Because if you have Chase, if you have Amex, you have a lot of good partners there. And if you have, and then if you layer in the personal side and you have others, right, that just gives you enough where you can think through, okay, this goes to this airline, this goes to this hotel. And when we sit down with someone, we don't do the actual booking for you. We coach through, hey, here's the framework of here's the right, tools that you need to get first that are going to help you track these specific things. here's the software. We're going to show you how to do it. Once you do it once, it's very simple and repeatable. The problem is someone goes to a tool and they go, shit, this is really overwhelming. Like, I don't know what to do, how to do it. So showing you how to do that. And then once you get that, you then realize, oh, this is where these points transfer to from these specific card issuers to these specific airlines. But most people want to keep it pretty simple, and most people want to go to the same places in the Caribbean, Italy, Greece, right? Europe. There's not a lot of people that, are like, hey, I want to go to the Maldives and Dubai who haven't traveled as much, right? It's a lot of times it's dipping your toes in the water, and then from there they'll start to kind of progress into that. And, by that time, a lot of times they're already down the rabbit hole and learning this stuff and can have that, detailed conversation like you and I can.
Yeah, yeah. The details is where it's at with this because you're talking about tools to use. Like I know there's a couple, but what are like three go-to tools that you're using on, hey, where do I know if these points work? Where can I look at flights for transfers, hotels? So what are a couple of those tools you're using?
Yeah, so starting out with to keep so you don't get overwhelmed with tracking credits with right tracking your loyalty balances. The first one that's really good is I like card pointers. If you have some of those more premium cards where you get some of those credits to get the most value out of them because everyone's pissed off that the annual fees went up. That's a great one. It tracks, it'll send you alerts. Hey, you have this credit coming up. Hey, this is, if you're going here and you have three different cards. And you don't know which one gets the most, it'll automatically send you that. So that's a good one. Award Wallet helps track your loyalty balances. So it's all about diversification, right? You don't want to just have United or just American points because if you find, award availability on another airline, you're boxed in there. So if you have those loyalty balances in across the different cards, across different, we'll just say Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, you then can track that and and there's some other stuff on the back end I won't get into. I don't want to overwhelm the audience. And then lastly, my go-to for flight tracking, seats.aero. That's a really, really good one. But if you want to keep it simple, that's more trying to aggregate points, transferring that. It can be a little bit more advanced. If you do have specific questions on that, like feel free to reach out. We have some workshops that help kind of talk through that. But Points Path is one that is very simple. It's just a free Google Chrome browser extension, and it compares, hey, if this flight's $200 and it's 12,000 points, is this a good points deal or is this should I pay in cash? So that's a really good one for people because everyone's already used to Google Flights. So it shows you and it gets your mind thinking through, okay, what's good for points, what's not. And all those that I just mentioned, if anyone wants to dive deeper into like a demo or anything like that, we actually had everyone from each of those tools on our podcast where they walk through how to utilize those. So feel free to check those out. And yeah, if you have any other questions, yeah, happy to help answer. But at a high level, those are the ones I like and are simple.
Yeah, what do you think about travel freely and points? Yeah.
Travel freely, I like. Zach's created a great app. I think it's great for people who want to get into here's the next card that I need to get, and tracking your 524 status and all that. I personally just haven't really used it just because I just kind of grew up doing it manually. So like
Yeah.
to go in and then do that. I always sit down and roadmap out for my specific situation. And we're planning our year in advance of where do we want to go, right? What do we have coming up from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint? And that's where my wife and I have those conversations. And then it's a two-player strategy where I go, hey, you open this card, I'm opening this card. And then we map that out so we know, hey, this is going to cover this, that's going to cover that. So I don't use Travel Freely as much, but that's if you're newer, it's definitely a great app, but that obviously been doing this a while. So
Yeah, yeah. I think for the beginners tracking their cards, I think it's perfect for. And then points, yeah. I mean, that's been the simplest for me to be able to book and go through and figure out. That's why I was curious on your opinion, because I know it's like you can go the step deeper and it's like, hey, what value am I actually getting for my points versus, hey, that's like the beginning phase, but this is the next level of where you can go.
Yeah, Pointia is great. I mean, there's a ton of tools. You have Travel, right? Uh, for hotels, seats.arrow, I like it because it also has rooms.arrow. So you can look at both those, and rooms.arrow will show you availability. But there's so many out there that that you can go check out. It's just like find one that you like and use that. Because if you try to learn all seven, like I know one very well, and there's others I've toyed with, but that's just my go-to, and it works great for me.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So, before we hop off, I want to kind of jump back to Itinerary Boss. So your business, and at what point, did you say, okay, I need to go all in on this to be able to help these other investors, these business owners, really be able to maximize this because you're getting so many questions, so many calls. Hey, what do I do here to where hey, this can be a full time business. And when did all of that kind of go full time for you?
Yeah, so I started in April 2025. I kind of got pushed to do it. I was at my former job and got was impacted by layoffs, and I had the plan to do it in July or August. I just was working a pretty sizable deal that I was waiting to get paid out on in May, and unfortunately, we all know how it goes in the sales world, and I saw it happen so many times. So I mean it was the best nudge that I could have gotten, but that's exactly why I also started this was, hey, I want to be able to have my own business for things like that happen. But yeah, and that helped and it helped make me make that jump. And it was the best thing that could have happened because it forced me to start having just go out and have as many coffee meetings, have as many conversations, just to really dive into, understanding customers, understanding where people were at, and just across the board, personal high spenders, business owners, whether it was real estate investors, whether it was high spending business owners, and it came down to, again, it's three simple problems. It's what's the best card to get? Okay, once I have this, I don't want to screw this up. How do I maximize? And then if you're a investor or a business owner missing out on a significant amount of dollars paying ACH, like, okay, what software did I do? And the scary 3% fee, like, why, I don't want to pay that, but helping educate people of that's a myth, that's a business expense and you're getting rewarded. And once you know how to get value from your points, if you're getting more than a statement credit balance, like at 1.1 cent redemption, you're coming out on top. And already just thinking too, if you're already paying a ton of money out of pocket for travel personally each year in cash, and you're not doing it, you already have a very high spending business, like why wouldn't you leverage this? So it's educating, right? It's just making that education. It's kind of a mindset shift, but once people like realize, oh my gosh, this is actually attainable, they love it. So that's yeah, and it's so that made me decide just to go on in. It's been fun since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's cool to go in your Instagram profile and see the different pictures and what you're putting out and also with the podcast. Because again, it's something people know about. They're just not maximizing. And once they figure out they can just maximize by doing one simple thing, and whether that's just using a credit card instead of a debit card, I mean, even for a normal spender, that's an insane boost in quality of life. Like I remember, back when I was young and my family would go on vacations and they had to save up money to be able to go and do these things. And now it's like with my normal spending, we could go on a really nice vacation and it costs us like, maybe 10% or less of that. And that's where the real power in the points and miles game is. So once I dove into it, it was like, it's just this whole other world. But you got to be a responsible spender, number one. And that's where you have to go. So, yeah. So, Ross, give us a little bit about your business and what it specifically does for investors if they want to work with you.
Yeah, and one other thing that I want to call out, and I just lost my train of thought as I was going to say it. It'll come back to me.
It'll
But
come back.
if yeah, but if investors want to work with me, they can. So I host live workshops bi-weekly that, talk about those three biggest pain points that I just mentioned. How to get the right credit card foundation in place, which even if you have cards in place, that does help because you might realize, hey, there's better strategies. Also, then how to redeem, how to stop wasting points, get 4 to 10x more value. And then lastly, really investor and business owner focused is that how to stop paying vendors wrong and how to get 5 to 6 figures in value just from making that minor shift. So those are bi-weekly, very low cost. And if you just want to skip that and you're like, hey, I'd rather just, join, we have a monthly membership that also, if you can join there. And that really is group coaching calls monthly, expert guests who come in and talk. And then, if you're wanting to go to specific places, other people want to go to the same places. So we share those breakdowns.
What have been some of your favorite trips? If you have like a number one on your list, what's been your favorite by far?
Probably Greece, but
Really?
we
I want to
just
go
did.
there.
Yeah, it's awesome. We just did Bali and Thailand for our honeymoon, and that was awesome because we flew Qatar Q Suites, that's very aspirational and lie down flat, and yeah, it's top business class.
Is that
So
the
that
shower
was
in the sky?
no, that's Emirates. So I
Oh,
would,
okay.
yeah, Qatar is awesome though. We did that. We're heading to South Africa in May, so that'll be exciting. We're pumped for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Is there like a favorite spot to go back to?
Like Greece. We loved Greece. It
Really?
was great. Greece and Portugal's all, I mean, Portugal's easy to get to, but yeah, Greece, Portugal were great. So I would definitely go back to both those.
So what's I would say what's Greece like? Because I've heard some mixed reviews. I've heard one say it's paradise, and then I've heard others say, hey, you're gonna be doing a lot of walking everywhere.
It depends on where they went. I feel like
Okay.
everywhere in Europe, that's a good amount of walking, but so our favorite place was Milos, which was phenomenal. I think if you go off any of the islands that aren't Mykonos or Santorini, you're going to have an awesome time. I mean, if you're going for your first time, Santorini was great. You got to check out the views, but don't go in the middle of the summer when all the fake influencers and TikTokers and all the people, you're going to be a sardine there and packed. It's going to be hot. Don't do that. Go in September, October, or May. But no, we had a blast. We loved it. Food's phenomenal. I mean, we ate Greek salads literally every single day for every single meal. So it's a good time.
That was like poke bowls in Hawaii for
Yeah.
us. Awesome, Ross. Well, yeah, hope if you want to connect with Ross, I'm going to be linking all of his information below so you can get in contact with him on Instagram and anywhere else. Itinerary Boss, go give him a follow. Ross, is there anywhere else you want people to be able to go connect with you?
No, I think that's perfect. If you go to those places, itineraryboss.com, everything that Chris mentioned, will be there. How to find your best credit card, if you want to go check out the podcast to learn more about the tools I just mentioned, or if there's specific things you're looking to learn, that's a great resource to get you started. But yeah, no, those are all great resources.
Awesome, Ross. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I was excited to get you on and nerd out a little bit on travel hacking. So I'll make sure to link all of Ross's information below. But thank you so much again for listening to the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. This is Chris and Ross signing off.